hey there! In the last video that I posted, you can check the card above my head if you haven't seen it, we talked about feeling like a failure, and I said at the end of that video that I was going to be doing a little follow-up Q&A, just like last time, and that is what this video is. Apparently, I'm just an agony aunt now, so sit back, relax, and get a cup of tea or something, and let's just jump into it. How do you deal with the lack of confidence? Like everyone telling you that you are great at what you do, but not believing in it. I hope that makes sense, and I hope I'm not alone in this. They say that in order to create a habit, you need to do it for 21 days straight. After that, your brain sort of like forms links so that what you're doing feels like part of your normal routine, supposedly. Sort of like giving up smoking, where like the first week or so is apparently the hardest. Try a 30-day challenge where you don't break the chain, meaning that you never skip a day. Either telling yourself something positive about your work every single day, even if you don't believe it at first, or if you feel that self-doubt starting to creep in, identify it and replace it with something positive. Replace it with a thought of something that you're really proud of, like something you've done for someone or an awesome photo that you took, something that makes you feel really good about yourself. Eventually, over time, those thoughts of self-doubt will become quieter and you will become a bigger fan of your own work. How can you succeed when everyone has already decided that because of their perception of you, you're going to fail? So somebody else deciding that you're going to fail doesn't actually make it so, unless that person is like marking your exams or interviewing you for a job, then that's different. But if you're talking about like a friend or a family member that doesn't believe in you, the only way that those voices can affect your chances of failure is if you allow them to knock your self-confidence. If you're not confident in yourself or your abilities, then there's a much bigger chance that you'll fail because you're writing the story before you've even finished the plot. Now, get out there and prove them wrong, tiger. It's nothing quite like the smell of freshly cooked egg on their face. How do I deal with my parents mocking my dreams in one moment and brag about me pursuing it in front of relatives or others in another moment? That's fucked up. If you're confident and comfortable enough, confront them. Confront. There's really two ways you can do this. Either confront them when they're mocking you and say, funny how you're so quick to praise me in front of others for this. Or this one, which is admittedly kind of the more awkward, harder one, confront them when they're praising you in front of others and say, funny, you berate me for this at home. I don't think I'd recommend that one. It's certainly not for everybody. But you have a right to not feel mocked for having dreams. And nobody, including your family, should make you feel that way. Stand up for yourself. Be your biggest advocate and tell them that shit's not okay. How do you try to stop comparing yourself with others and focus on yourself? Now, I got this question a lot. This can be so hard. I've been there myself. Between you and me, I had a really hard time watching one of my friends become a more successful musician than me. By successful, I mean like radio plays, views on videos, etc. It's just like a perception of success. But seeing somebody else take off and achieve everything you've ever wanted can be so hard, and it can even lead to feelings of bitterness and jealousy, which actually affect how you see that person as a person. It took me a long time to realize that I am just not that certain individual, you know, and my path is destined to be different. The time I wasted comparing myself to others, I could have been spending honing my craft, making new contacts, seeing new things, becoming inspired, and instead it was spent on negative feelings. And I think over time, as you experience it more and more, you learn to prioritize your own success, your own feelings of self-worth over negative feelings. What do you do when you feel like you're so much further behind than everyone else and someone you trust calls you a failure? If you feel like they're right, what can you do to not just sink? Damn, we're getting deep today. As I said before, nobody deserves to be mocked. If somebody I actually trusted called me a failure, like actually called me a failure, they would not be in my life for much longer at all. I would get shot of them so fast. And if you can't remove them from your life, say that they're family, I'll say what I said before. Somebody calling you a failure doesn't actually make it so. Only you can really decide whether or not you are a failure or whether you've just encountered a setback. It can be really hard, especially after a few knocks, but spend some time with yourself, spend time working on yourself, your craft, and surround yourself with people who are encouraging and supportive. And go and prove that person that you trusted wrong. How to deal with the feeling that you are nothing, all that you do doesn't make any sense, and nobody is interested or needed it anyway. This one runs a bit deep, but if that's how you're feeling and you really feel like you're at your lowest, and this is easier said than done, try and spin it into a positive. If nobody's interested in what you do, as you say, well then nobody's judging you, right? You're free to do and make whatever you want without any pressure. Now, of course, that's not the case at all. My point is, despite how you're feeling right now, people do care, and you should be absolutely fearless. Go and do or make whatever you want as though nobody is interested, even though they are, I promise. How do you deal with wanting to be on the same level as a sibling, even though there's no competition, but in your head you feel less than them? You won't believe how many times I had this question. It's something I've never thought about before. See, my siblings are much younger than me. I'm gonna do my best to make sure they never feel that way. But yeah, I never had this feeling growing up, but I guess what I would say is it's important to remember that you are not your sibling. Remember I made that video called You Are Not Your Parents? You are not your siblings. You are not anyone but you. Your path is completely your own and completely unique to you, and nobody else will ever walk the path that you're walking right now. If your path was the exact same as your siblings, then you'd just become the complete same person, and then you wouldn't stand out the way that you do. You are your own person with your own thoughts, feelings, strengths, and weaknesses, and you are beyond comparison, okay? Never use anybody or their success as a benchmark. Use it as inspiration. Let it inspire you about how hard you can work and how far it will take you. And finally, how do you carry on going if you have nothing that motivates you, like no dream or anything? Now, just like in my last Q&A, I'm gonna end this with the exact same sentiment. It just takes time. I didn't want to be a YouTuber when I was a kid. It didn't even exist. Old. I wanted to be a vet, an astronaut, a teacher, I think, a paramedic, a singer, of course, but I could never just like settle on one big goal like everybody else seemed to. It seemed as though everyone around me when I was at college had their shit in order. They knew what they wanted to study at university, they knew what they wanted to do, and it was like they all seemed to be on their way to achieving it, and I felt so much pressure to achieve everything while I was really young. Everybody has their time at their own destined moment, at least that's what I believe. I mean, people change career paths at 40 or 50. There really is no time limit. You will find the thing that makes your heart swell with joy, and when you do, you'll look back at this time as the years that you spent becoming who you are, so that you can enjoy the fruits of your labor when it's your time to. So I think that's all we have time for today. I hope this video was helpful. Don't forget to follow me on all of my socials, my Instagram, my Twitter, especially my Twitter, if you want to get involved in future Q&As, and also my Instagram, because it is poppin'. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any video suggestions, leave them down below in the comments. I'm always willing to listen to suggestions. And until next time, guys, I shall catch you later.